Hey everybody, this is a summary of chapter 22, section 2 on the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment comes around because people were questioning their natural surroundings with the scientific revolution. And now people are going to start questioning the idea that kings were able to rule as God's representatives on earth. And they begin to question the idea of divine right. And people want to replace kings and queens with elected officials. And this is going to be known as the Enlightenment period. And it's going to happen in Europe and spread all over the world. So here you go. The old idea, which is going to change, is the right of govern. And a long time ago, people used to believe, and this was the old idea, that a monarch's rule was justified by this idea called divine right, and that kings were blessed by God and God's representatives on earth and were unquestionable. The new idea that comes around during the Enlightenment is that a government's power comes from the consent of the governed. And this basically means that if the government is not taking care of the people should rebel and overthrow it. That a government needs to take care of its people and obtain their consent to rule. Another famous Enlightenment thinker was John Locke, and this is a statue of John Locke. He's pretty famous. It's in England, and he had an idea called the idea of natural rights, and he believed in the positive side of human nature. He believed that people could be good. He believed that everybody was born with natural rights. And there were three main natural rights: the right to life, liberty, and property. And here, according to Locke, were the three natural rights. Everyone's entitled to live life. Liberty, everyone's entitled to do anything they want, so as long as it doesn't conflict with the first right. And he believed you should be free to do what you want as long as you weren't infringing on somebody else's life. And then there's the third: property, or the right of an estate. People are entitled to own all they create or gain as long as it doesn't conflict with the first two rights. And that was John Locke's natural rights. On the other hand, this philosopher Rousseau, he believed that there should be laws that should be fair and they should be enforced. He did not want monarchs to run unchecked with power, though. So he says there should be laws and that people may have to give up a little bit of their freedom in order to live safely. Next, Montesquieu. He's going to be used in our country. He believes that there needs to be a separation of power. He believes that there needs to be a system of checks and balances. So that was his big thing. And that's actually going to come into the United States government. This whole idea of three branches, a separation of power. And here are some of the major ideas. John Locke, his main idea was natural rights. Montesquieu, he believed in separation of powers. Voltaire, he believed in freedom of thought and expression. Becerra wanted to outlaw torture in government. Religious freedom, Voltaire. And women's equality, Mary Wollstonecraft. And she was a thinker that basically stood up for women's rights. And at this time, women's rights had mainly been ignored. The term Enlightenment, it was a time period in history where people began to question the old ideas. Social contract, this was the idea that a government would maybe limit some people's rights in order for safety, that people agree to this social contract to have a strong government. John Locke, he was a philosopher and believed in the ideas of natural rights, that everybody was born with them. There were many different philosophies, and they're going to be in the Enlightenment. Voltaire,